Hi everybody. I'm not feeling very good this week, so I didn't make a big video, but I still wanted to get this article out to you guys. It's 5 years old. It's called The Mormon Polygamists Who Believe Missouri is the Promised Land. And I want to talk about this because, first of all, it's just a matter of miles from me. I live 30-40 minutes away from this place. And so I wanted to talk about it for a couple of reasons. We'll just start reading it here. The ranch is a mystery to those in neighboring towns, but is considered Zion to the about 400 polygamists who live there. After church, Flint Laub, his 2 wives, and their 10 children sat down at the kitchen table to eat pizza. The lunch was served in the big house where Michelle Laub, 32, and her 7 children live. Flint's second wife is Ruth Ann Laub, who is 25, and Michelle's half-sister. She recently gave birth to her 3rd child. Ruth Ann Laub and her kids live in a second house a few steps away from the big one. The Laubs live in a polygamous community of perhaps 400 people in rural Missouri between the towns of Humansville and Stockton. The residents call it the ranch, though the agriculture is limited to a hayfield and a few cows and chickens. People in the neighboring towns refer to the community as the compound, but you won't see any high walls or armed guards, just brown dirt roads winding through clusters of trees and homes. And this is true. I've heard people talk about this place before. I have heard it referred to as a compound. I've never been there. I've never seen it. You'd have to really specifically want to go there. But I have heard about it, and yeah. Inside the big house, the adults laughed about what outsiders think of them. Flint, 40, who runs a roofing company. Flint, 40, runs a roofing company. If someone asks him if he's a polygamist, he will say yes. Sometimes people ask if the compound is really prepped for warfare, assuming they're survivalists. They're not. Ruth Ann, who has worked as a first responder in Stockton, says one day someone asked her if she believed in air conditioning. Yes, she said. Her house is modern, constructed from concrete, poured into plastic foam. Here is a picture of them doing their Sunday morning church service. I believe Missouri is the promised land, said Sean Anderson, a 51-year-old fundamentalist Mormon from Mexico who has also lived in Arizona and Utah. He recently moved to the ranch with his wife and their 6 children. The members are a hodgepodge of people whose members in Utah haven't always gotten along. But here, the polygamists worship not only with each other, but also with the Mormon Church, also known as the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, which officially abandoned polygamy in 1890 and excommunicates members found practicing it. Despite their differences, the mainstream Latter-day Saints and people on the ranch still share core beliefs, and the community still uses its texts. Let's see what I wanted to share with you. Okay, this is how it started. The idea of the ranch emerged on November 7th, 1983, when Stephen Laub was at his home in Matokwa, an enclave in southwest Utah for members of a polygamous church called the Apostolic United Brethren, or AUB. He was in the cellar, stocking and preparing it to ride out an apocalypse at the end of the millennium, when he heard someone call his name. He went to his wives to ask what they wanted. They said they didn't call him and they didn't hear a voice. He heard the voice over 8 days. Eventually, he tracked the voice to a nearby mountain. He started hiking. The voice had more instructions as he hiked farther up the mountain. As he recorded in his journal, "The Lord told me he wants me to go to Missouri and buy a farm." And there is Sean Anderson. For Mormons of all stripes, Missouri, specifically Jackson County, is a landmark. Mormons began arriving there in 1831, and that year, Smith had a prophecy that Zion was in Jackson County and that Jesus would return there one day. And when Laub hiked down from the mountain and arrived home, his brother Darrell Laub and another resident, Bruce Compton, were there to help him with the cellar. He told them they needed to go to Missouri. Because Latter-day Saints believe their movement started with revelation from God, no one challenged him. They did ask where in Missouri they were supposed to go. He provided them with an answer. Stephen Laub hiked back up the mountain to seek a clarification. God told him to go about 100 miles south of Independence. The next day, the Laub brothers, some of their sons, and another resident named Kent Andra loaded into a blue pickup truck and began driving east. The idea was to build the kingdom of God, establish Zion, Compton, now 76, said in a recent interview. They found their property that they wanted to buy, and then it says they went and saw it, and they really liked it. And then it says the men negotiated a purchase price of $300 an acre and paid $3,000 earnest money. They promised to make a down payment of $34,000 within 30 days. That was money the men didn't have when they made the agreement. Other believers back in Utah chipped in, and the financing of the property has become part of its mythology, proof that God wanted the believers to be in Southwest Missouri. Can you imagine that? They went ahead and paid $3,000, promised $300 an acre, and they didn't even have it. They just went back and they got the other believers in Utah to help them pay for it. The group contributions was also the first example of ranch residents practicing what's called a united order, a fundamentalist Mormon form of communal living where followers give money, entire pieces of property, or time and talents to benefit the community. What are you playing? Oh. Hey, don't bite me. Sean Anderson and his current wife, Clara Anderson, moved to the ranch in the fall with their 6 children. Clara, 39, is one of Rulon Allred's great-granddaughters. Within their household, the Andersons admit the roles are traditional. Sean works in construction and is a part owner of a barbecue restaurant while his wife stays home. I stay home with my kids because I want to stay home with my kids, she said. It's not because Sean told me to stay home. Well, of course it isn't. This reminds me of Ballerina Farms, right? She said the same thing. He doesn't make me stay home and be a trad wife. I want to. Well, of course you do. Because if your religion makes you want to, doesn't it? It makes it seem like the best thing you can do. The holiest lifestyle you can have. So of course you want to. Women from the ranch are wary of the public perception of wives and polygamy as trapped inside a home. Some women hold jobs in the surrounding communities and some don't, which is fine. Nobody really cares. But we know why they do it. A review of marriage licenses in Southwest Missouri shows most residents of the polygamist community marry in their 20s, though a few brides and grooms have been as young as 17. In Mormon polygamy, the husband usually has one legal wife. Subsequent marriages are ordained in a religious service, but there's no license on file with any county clerk. In Missouri, you can be convicted of bigamy if a married person purports to marry another person. The offense is a misdemeanor punishable by up to a year in jail. That's lesser punishment than, say, Utah, where polygamy is a felony punishable by up to 5 years in prison, or 15 years if it's committed in conjunction with a fraud or violent offense. The important thing to note there is that Missouri doesn't even recognize polygamy as a concept. If you marry more than one person, you're committing bigamy. Full stop. So all you have to do to get around that is just don't try to legally marry any other people. Cedar County prosecutor Ty Gaither, who, by the way, will probably get his own investigation at some point because the web is webbing around here. Ty Gaither was also mentioned in articles related to Agape and Circle of Hope boarding schools, which Jen from Fundy Fridays mentioned that she might make a video on those, and I hope that she does. But either way, if she does or doesn't, I'll probably do something just briefly covering the topic and still watch her video because she's the best. We do need to talk about this Ty Gaither guy at some point. The prosecutor. One of the locals who refer to the polygamist community as the compound said he has not received any complaints about crimes there. He points out his county is home to multiple religious communities, including Amish and Mennonite. Let's put it this way, Gaither said of a plural marriage. If I had 3 parties who were consenting adults, I wouldn't have a complaining witness. If I had a complaining witness, we would take a look. Sure you would. I'm sure you would, Ty. There's a picture of some mailboxes at the ranch. Here's towards the end of the article is something that I found so interesting. People have come and gone over the years. Compton, one of those Matokwa men who drove to Missouri in the blue pickup truck, didn't find everything he was looking for on those 600 acres that was supposed to be Zion. Compton says living in a plural marriage and a united order gave him a lot of questions and not enough answers about God. Before he moved to Missouri, Compton came across a book about Jewish Kabbalah during a work trip to California. Kabbalah is meant to explain the relationship between God and the universe. Compton developed an interest in metaphysics. The other Matokwa men didn't like it. They believed metaphysics conflicted with their fundamentalist Mormon beliefs. They eventually asked Compton to leave. Compton separated from his plural wives, remarried to just one woman, and now leads a church in nearby Buffalo, Missouri, where he preaches a belief in an almighty creator. Now, this says Buffalo, but actually I looked into it to be more specific. If you're from Missouri at all, southern Missouri especially, and you're into new agey metaphysical stuff or anything like that, you should recognize this town. It's actually in Windyville, Missouri, which it's near Buffalo, but Windyville, we might just have to take a drive over to Windyville one day and make a video about the place. It's really interesting. It's basically this unknown little, like, metaphysical capital of southern Missouri. Like, nobody even knows this place is here. Unless you know. If you know, you know. If you know, you know. But it's so small that most people drive right past it. They don't really do a lot of advertising or anything like that. So this church is actually in Windyville, where he preaches a belief in an almighty creator, so kind of like an open, non-denominational God. He'll teach from the Bible, the Book of Mormon, the Torah, the Quran, or any other text promoting monotheism. I search for truth, Compton said. You can also buy a psychic reading from Compton and his wife, Connie Compton. The client will share certain information that Bruce relays to Connie. Through a trance, she will give advice or tell the client the cause of any physical or emotional ailments. I want to look into these guys a little bit more. I haven't been able to find much about them except an obituary, and if it is the right guy, I think that Bruce Compton passed away last year. So unfortunately, I can't just call him up. But I will look into this a little bit more because I find it really interesting that they came to Missouri to be a part of this polygamous ranch thing, and then they left polygamy, or he left polygamy altogether to marry a lady that does like trance psychic readings and stuff. Like, wow, what a switch. Or is it? And then it says, as for what's next, the residents years ago poured a concrete foundation for a temple against a small slope near the center of the community. But I guess that temple never got built. Well, anyway, I thought you guys might find that interesting, and I wanted to be able to put something out this week just to keep you guys in the loop on what I'm up to. Stupid allergies. I got me some allergy medicine to stick up my nose, and I hate it. I hate the drippy feeling. It's all terrible, but it was really nice to see you guys again, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and leave a like and subscribe to my channel if you want more weird religious goofy stuff going on in Missouri. Thanks, guys. Bye.